This is not an opinion, it's a fact. Cancun has been named the worst tourist destination in the world, or at least the most disappointing. Attention, setback for Cancun. It tops the ranking of the most disappointing tourist destinations. And here we can see that it's completely real. For foreigners, Cancun is the most disappointing tourist destination they visited in their lives. Honestly, I'm not surprised. If there's a city that's managed to tarnish its image, to tarnish its credibility, it's Cancun. Cancun exemplifies everything that's wrong and shouldn't be done.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a taxi driver in Cancun and scam people.
For foreigners, from the moment they land in Cancun, they have to deal with scammers. With the taxi drivers, they have to deal with people trying to get as much money out of them as possible. And obviously that experience is very, very unpleasant. Let's see what people are saying here.
Cancun was named the most disappointing tourist destination in the world in 2025 according to the Radical Storage ranking, which analyzed almost 100,000 traveler reviews. 14.2% of the comments about Cancun were negative, due to reasons such as high prices, insecurity, crowded beaches, and an experience very different from what is advertised. The list also includes destinations such as Antalya in Turkey, Punta Cana, Beijing, Orlando, and Mumbai.
Well, the last one doesn't surprise me. Honestly, the last one doesn't surprise me. Now, there's something very interesting and very important. Why does someone travel to Cancun? That's the first question we should ask ourselves. Why? What's the reason? Well, obviously, there can be many. But, for example, a family from the United Kingdom or from the United States or from Canada that travels to Cancun does so mainly for two reasons. First, because of costs, because of prices. They consider that the price of Cancun is much lower than, say, going somewhere like Miami. For them, Cancun can be relatively more affordable, cheaper. And the other reason is to de-stress, to relax, to go to a hotel in the Riviera Maya or the hotel zone and have a good time. Like disconnect, that's what many people want. Obviously, that's one profile, one of the many types of people who go to Cancun. But without a doubt, one of the interesting things about Mexico as a tourist destination is the value for money, at least from the perspective of foreigners. What's the problem with Cancun? That it's not cheap anymore. Plus, you can't relax anymore because as soon as you arrive, they're scamming you. It's unsafe and you're likely to get robbed. So, obviously, for tourists who are looking to pay less, relax, and have a good time, it ends up being a totally different experience from what they imagined. Therefore, the vast majority of tourists say, you know what, I'm not coming back to Cancun, I'm not returning. And little by little, Cancun has been getting a bad reputation. Its reputation, its fame, its credibility are now at rock bottom. Look at Tulum. Tulum is a ghost town now. Nobody wants to go to Tulum, nobody. It's the laughingstock of Mexico right now. Everyone is making fun of Tulum. Why? Well, because it was offering extremely high prices. They were basically charging you $50 for an ice cream, $13 for a soda, almost $20 for a beer. Obviously, people get tired of it, and those are prices that are extremely high even outside of Mexico. Therefore, it's no longer an accessible destination, it's no longer an affordable destination for foreigners. What's going on with Cancun and Tulum? There's no reason to go anymore. They've practically eliminated all the excuses and justifications to go to Cancun. There's no reason to go to a city like Cancun nowadays. And on top of all that, there are the taxi drivers. I'm telling you, the whole experience is a scam in itself. They simply see tourists, foreigners, as an automated teller machine. And because of that excessive ambition to want more and more and more, they ended up driving them away. Sooner or later, that was going to happen. Sooner or later, that was going to occur. Finally, word of mouth has arrived. People are already starting to notice. Foreigners are already saying they won't go to Cancun because even the taxi drivers scam them. Taking a taxi from Cancun airport to the city costs 10 times more than from the airport to the city in Singapore. It's no joke that it costs 10 times more to take a taxi from the airport to the city in Cancun than in Singapore. It's not a joke. So my question is, why would a foreigner go to Cancun? Seriously, that's a really good question. Why would a foreigner go to Cancun? There's no reason, but let's continue.
People share the same complaints. From poor infrastructure, over tourism and pollution, to experiences perceived as artificial
Of course,
or disconnected from the local culture.
that's true, but that's nothing. People keep getting scammed repeatedly. Anyway, let's continue and see what people say here.
Latin America is full of spectacular tourist destinations, but surprisingly, there's one that left many travelers disappointed. We're talking about Cancun, Mexico. Although it's one of the most visited places, a study by Radical Storage magazine named it the most disappointing destination in Latin America. The reason? First, many tourists report feeling unsafe walking through its streets due to the presence of criminal groups. Second, taxi drivers at Cancun International Airport have been criticized for mistreatment and overcharging.
Please understand, it's the airport taxi drivers. When you arrive in Cancun, you're greeted with a scam, and when you want to leave Cancun heading to the airport, and what happens? You leave having been scammed, so your first and last experience in Cancun is a scam. Impressive.
And third, the tourist areas have lost quality due to lack of maintenance and investment. In total, 14.2% of the comments on platforms like TripAdvisor were negative. Many visitors say that Cancun no longer feels authentic, and they paid more for less.
Totally agree. That's the harsh reality. It pains me, but that's how things are. Cancun is in decline, but let's see what they say here. Topping the list of the most disappointing cities is Cancun, with 14.2% negative reviews. The city, built for tourism, is now associated with scams, inflated prices, and a lack of authenticity. These are reviews from foreigners, meaning that foreigners say it's a city full of scams and totally exorbitant prices. I completely agree. Many visitors leave feeling like they paid more for less. It's also the city most frequently mentioned in reviews about scams. Incredible. Now let's see. Honestly, I do think that Cancun is in total decline, but I'm surprised. To see the list, a few things catch my attention because I keep thinking, how is it possible that Istanbul, Turkey isn't on this list? Because it's not, right? Look, Istanbul, Turkey isn't listed, but Playa del Carmen, Mexico is. That city is only an hour from Cancun. Amazing. Here it says, Playa del Carmen, previously known as a bohemian alternative to Cancun, ranks 10th on the list of most disappointing cities. The increase in commercialization, crime, and high prices made many visitors feel ripped off. Among the most cited complaints, they say it's very noisy and there's a bad smell of sewage in the rooms and also on the beach. For us, it's not a paradise, expressed a user on TripAdvisor. What really catches my attention, very honestly, is that it can be possible that in the top 10 most disappointing destinations is not, well, at least Bombay in India or Mumbai is there. Yes, it is. This spot is totally deserved. But that it's not there. I find it peculiar that Istanbul, Turkey is there, but Cairo, Egypt isn't. And Paris, France isn't either. It also catches my attention that Rome, Italy, for example, or Venice aren't there. It really catches my attention that those cities aren't there. And that Kyoto is. Look, let me be honest with you. I visited Kyoto for the first time. I've been there twice. In the year 2017. What a wonderful experience. What a beautiful city. Truly a marvel. One of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen in my life. But I went back in 2023 and it was a completely different city. The problem that Kyoto has nowadays is that it's a city. It's pretty small and with so many tourists, you can barely walk. That's what's happening to Japan. There are so many tourists that the city even feels artificial at times because it's excessively touristy. It's no longer the city I knew years ago. Yes, it's true that there was a drastic increase in the number of tourists in Kyoto, Japan. That's absolutely certain. However, for Kyoto to be ranked above cities like Istanbul, Turkey, which to me is the world capital of scams, and above Cairo, Egypt. What happens in Cairo, Egypt is crazy. Going to see the pyramids of Egypt is a terrible and unpleasant experience. There are YouTube videos showing it.
Please stop. Please stop, excuse me, stop, excuse me.
No, we're coming with you and then have to pay. We know it's a scam.
It's above Paris, France, which is also a mess, and it's nothing like what people imagine. At least for me, it really catches my attention.
He's a scammer. He's a scammer. He's a scammer. And he's a scammer.
I ask myself that question. How is it possible that Paris, France, Cairo, Egypt, and Istanbul, Turkey are not on this list? Because, honestly, they should be. Because they are much worse destinations than Kyoto without a doubt. I'd really like to hear your thoughts and opinions on this. Incredible. 2 cities in the Mexican Caribbean in the top 10 most disappointing cities on planet Earth. Playa del Carmen and Cancun. Honestly, I'm not surprised. Guys, see you next time.